Yeah, that's right. I see the chat. I see y'all rocking. I see y'all coming. Hit that like button as you enter the building. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. Show your love. Show your support. You know what I'm saying? This that dope soul. This that new thing. Nobody don't know about it.
Uh-oh. Are you frozen, Queen? Or is that me? I'm not sure if Queen just froze up on us or not, but in case it's just me, salute to everyone. Hope you're having a good afternoon. It was a tough loss to Boston last night. We're just trying to figure out our team, I guess, and not a good look last night. It was a really strange game. You know, every quarter seemed to be a different game. We had a great first quarter, miserable second, terrible third, and then a pretty decent fourth. And so there's a lot that can be said and a lot to talk about, but I think first and foremost, at least to me, the biggest disappointment was the rebounding. I really thought that the Knicks did a poor job on the glass. This is a team that doesn't play a lot of good rebounders, and they out rebounded us on the night. I felt like they out hustled us for most of the night. The second chance points were very disturbing, and so that was a very difficult thing to watch. Not a good game from our bench at all. Everybody on our bench was terrible last night. We struggled to contain Jaylen Brown. We let him get going in the second quarter, and then once an all-star player like that starts feeling it, it can be really difficult to cool them off and get them shut down. And so I really felt like that was a definite key to the game. Boston was a lot more physical than we were. They were allowed to be by the officials, but New York didn't react to the physicality very well. And so I think that was a big issue as well. I know people are going to be beating up on Jalen Brunson in the comments this morning, and I don't really I can't really argue with that because I really feel like he didn't have one of his best games. I mean, if you just look at the stats, yes, he had 11 assists and he had only three turnovers, but he was 6 of 21 from the field. And really, really didn't do a good job running the offense. Took a lot of shots that I think he shouldn't have taken. And with Bridges just kind of starring like he was, especially in the second half, I kind of feel like he should have just been feeding him the entire time and let Mikal take over, because Brunson just didn't have it last night. And so, if you want to rip JB this morning, I think that's more than fair. I think this was probably his worst performance of the season, and everybody else in the Knicks starting lineup, at any rate, was actually quite good. We had we had a good game from Towns. I actually didn't think we went to Towns enough. I think that we should have prioritized that because he's too strong for Boston inside, and there's no need to not just keep attacking with him. You saw even late in the game, he did get double teamed, but he found that really nice pass to Josh Hart, and Hart was able to get the and one. So I really feel like that this was kind of on Coach Brown a little bit, maybe for his substitutions and how he played things. I noticed that Jaylen Brown, I think, played 21 minutes in the first half, so they were really relying heavily on him. And so, maybe it was a situation where the Knicks should have matched that, especially since, hey, are you back? You're muted. Well, I guess keep going until she's able to get settled that she's in. So anyway, I don't want to sit here and monologue. What do you guys think? I mean, besides that Brunson was terrible, and I think that that's a take we can all agree on. What else did you see from this game that you liked, that you didn't like? I really thought our intensity to start the game, especially on defense, was very good. I thought we harassed them early on, and in the first quarter, I was really impressed with how connected we were defensively, and maybe that was just the case of Boston missing their perimeter shots. I know they made they were 0 for 7 to start the game from 3, but I felt like they got a lot of tough looks, and the Knicks were really into them and guarding really well and intense. And then it seems like the at the end of the first quarter we seemed to relax, and then we didn't get it back. We didn't get our energy back until even the fourth quarter, which when we were down 18, and that's too little too late. So definitely a fake comeback involved. And just for me, I hate the Celtics so much. It's just one of those losses that really grinds my gears. I don't think in the grand scheme of things, though, it's gonna kill us. I think that we have a good team. We had a bad night. The second and third quarter were like mind-blowingly bad, but the first and the fourth were actually both pretty good, and so who we are probably lies somewhere in the middle. But it took the Knicks way too long to adjust to Jaylen Brown. And normally, a lot of times when one guy is hot, I'm like, okay, just don't let anyone else beat you. But in the fourth, we really started to blitz him on every pick and roll, and that allowed Boston to get a bunch of open shots. And so I think that makes it tough, because you're doomed if you do and doomed if you don't. And so yes, we did, Raul Rosado. Yes, we did. But that's who he is, and and probably need to not dwell on that too much. But the scheme to switch and get Brunson on Brown was kind of a confusion factor for me. Like, I think that would be something that you would want to avoid. And Boston was super good at targeting whoever Brunson was guarding. They immediately put them in the pick and roll action, is what I noticed. And so that the Knicks defense is predicated on switching, and so they'd run the pick and roll action with Brown, and that would create that matchup right off the bat. And the Knicks didn't do a good job of really solving that all night. And I guess their one solution was to blitz with Mikal toward the end. But again, that led it to a ton of wide open looks and got other guys going as well. So, I'm not real sure what the proper solution is. Maybe it's just one of those deals where when he's hot, and he didn't really kill us that badly in the fourth quarter. So I guess from that perspective, the blitzing worked, but they were able to keep us an arm's length away because other people were scoring. And I think the fact that we were blitzing affected our ability to get the rebound, because I felt like in the fourth quarter, there were 3 possessions I remember where we forced an initial miss, and then we weren't able to get the board, and that will crush you every time. Our work on the defensive glass was really poor last night by everyone. It wasn't just Towns. I think Towns was probably our leading rebounder, but I think he only had like 7 or 8. And I think that we played into Boston's hands. I think that we, instead of playing our game, we allowed ourselves to play Boston's game, especially when we went with the super small lineup with Kolek and Clarkson, and I thought that unit was an absolute disaster. It's the one that allowed them to get back in the game, and then it's also the one that got the deficit ballooned. Are we good?
Oh my goodness. I know you was holding it down, Geoff. I appreciate you.
Well, let's hear some of your thoughts, because I'm sure they're tired of
show.
listening to me for 10 minutes.
That was a little technical shit show right there. I'm not sure what you said, so I may be repeating some things. It's kind of hard for me to get super down so early in the season over a loss. I mean, I did my rounds last night listening to the post game shows. I tuned into nothing but Knicks just for a little bit. And Sim may disagree, but he seemed to be a little tight over the loss last night. And a few others were a little tight. Listen, Boston, after that first quarter, responded with a physicality and an energy level that the Knicks did not match. And you could tell the difference watching it on television. But to the Knicks' credit, they found a way to climb back into that game. And that what that tells me is regardless of how it looked on screen, they never gave up. Like they were trying to get back into that game. And they were able to. I thought Bridges was phenomenal all game. I thought Cat was really good also. I think there were periods, like I'm having a hard time with Cat, this what I'm calling this raggedy Andy thing, where there's sometimes his back is straight, he's strong, he's going to the basket, he's making decisive moves. And then there's other times when he's like the straw man from the Wizard of Oz. And I'm like what? Like that to me is so frustrating. But overall, I thought Cat was good also. I don't know if you got into Brunson, and again, we'll do what we usually do in terms of, well, however we want to go today, right? Brunson didn't shoot well, and he is entitled to a bad game. And there's two ways to look at it. One way is shoot or shoot. Whether you are having a good game or you're not having a good game, or score is score. Not having a good game, you always feel that the next one is going to go down and it's going to change everything, right? He didn't shoot well. He took the most shots on the team. He took the most shots in the fourth quarter as well. And another way to look at it is you don't have it. You don't have it. Stop forcing the issue. I thought there were two shots in the fourth quarter, and they were pretty much at the rim. So he was getting the shots he usually gets, where I felt like Cat and Bridges probably should have took one, if not both of those, shots. And we can get into it. But even with Brown having, I don't know if this was a career game for him. I don't know what his highest scoring game, but he was just flaming. Even with his career game and even with Brunson not playing well, the Knicks, through the heroics of Bridges with 17 fourth quarter points, were in that game and had an opportunity to win. I do want to talk a little bit about Mike Brown. I think there's some things I would have done, a little different. Again, there's no right or wrong with any of this. It's just, what you think about it. Shout out to the chat. I appreciate your patience. AD in the house, JJ in the house. But yeah, Geoff, where do you want to go? Yeah,
well, let's start with the positive. Bridges was phenomenal. Like, and salute to AD. I'm sorry for your loss, brother. We got in your heart. We're all thinking of you and praying for you. And yes, Absolutely. That was my cat who jumped on my chest and walked across the screen. So you're not imagining things there. But Bridges was really terrific last night. I mean, I thought that his energy was fantastic. His shot making was incredible. But we've really seen that from him all season long. It just he scored, and so it seemed like, I think sometimes when players score better, we think they play better. I think this was actually his worst game in terms of stocks that he's had in probably 2 weeks. I think he had 2 steals, and I don't think he blocked a shot last night. So
Right.
from that standpoint, maybe not as much in the ancillary statistical categories, but he certainly was hauling the load for us in the fourth quarter. And you kind of have to wonder, if you gave him some more shots, if he wouldn't have brought us all the way. Like when he cut that lead to 3, I was like, ooh, maybe we got a
Yeah.
shot to steal this one. And then we just had like 2 or 3 possessions in a row, like
Yeah.
I said, where we didn't get the defensive board, and we gave up multiple chances and ended up, giving up a basket. Not that our initial defense wasn't good, because it was, but
Right.
getting that final rebound was the issue. And again, I think a lot of that goes back to the blitzing on the pick and roll the blitzing that we did to get the ball out of Brown's hands. People were not in position, and it's kind of like what we do to other teams with Brunson. They had that 4-on-3, and even though they were missing the initial shot, they were able to get the rebound and get an easy basket. And so our inability to contain Brown became our Achilles heel.
Yeah, but I thought the blitzing, maybe we could have started that earlier. I mean, like they were picking on Brunson, right? Really getting him in that pick and roll, getting that switch, and Brunson had nothing for Jaylen Brown. There was one time where the screen was coming and Josh Hart fought over the screen, so they didn't get the switch. And then Brown just, he didn't force it. He just passed it to someone else. But I just thought maybe there was something we could do adjustment wise a little earlier on Jaylen Brown. However, once a player gets going, sometimes sometimes it doesn't really matter what the adjustments are, and who and who you put on him. But they were definitely picking on Jalen Jalen Brunson,
But
at least
Josh
in that
Hart
first
couldn't
half.
handle him either. Like there were
Could
multiple
not.
possessions when Hart was on him. I think that's true that they definitely picked up. But I saw plenty of possessions where Hart was tasked with guarding him, and it was the same thing. But the crazy
Yeah.
part is about Brown is that he is the master of the mid range, right? And those are shots that your defense typically wants other teams to take. But Brown, when he's on a heater, you can't do that. Like if he's going to be
Yeah.
making those shots at such a highly efficient level, there's not really a whole lot we can do. So, but if Brunson can't do it, and obviously he couldn't, and Hart wasn't doing it, I guess that leaves it up to Bridges. I don't know, who
Yeah.
else is really
Yeah.
going to come in. I mean, Deuce is too small also, and I thought Deuce was terrific on the point of attack, especially early in the game, keeping them outside of outside the paint and really disrupting their offensive flow early on. I think that's one of the things that got us the lead. And then it just seemed like the second unit came in and all of that vanished to me. Like,
But even when the first unit came back, all of that vanished. Like it wasn't even like, you know, I think the first unit got off to a great start. They did get off to a great start. But I don't know if I can say it was we only I mean, I don't know. I would have to look at the numbers. I would have to look at the numbers. But to the eye test, it didn't seem to me that we only played well when the second unit was in there. And when the first unit was in there, um, we went toe to toe. Now the stats may prove different, but to the eye test, I didn't get that.
well,
I
it
didn't
certainly
get that
didn't play
sense.
out that way in the third quarter, but I would agree with you from that standpoint. We kind of let go of the rope a little bit in the third quarter, but I thought definitely in the late first, early second, it was, especially Kolek's minutes were horrendous. I mean, it felt like we were just hemorrhaging points the entire time he was on the floor in a big way. His rotations were slow. He couldn't stay in front of his guy. He's out of position, and it really showed.
Yeah, he wasn't great defensively, but still, Kolek is not why we lost the game. But I agree with you. I do think that the bench was not great. And I personally thought Mike Brown stood with the bench way too long. And I get where he's coming from. He's monitoring minutes. He said this after the game. Like he's trying to monitor minutes. Sure, there's gonna be games where minutes are gonna be overextended. And to me, this was one of them. Um, but for the most part, he's trying to keep the minutes down so that they're fresh at the end of the season, end of the year, playoff time. And I don't disagree with that. But there are some games where I think, particularly when you're shorthanded, without OG, without Shamit, where I think it's okay to just kind of extend minutes a little bit and reduce minutes a little bit. I would not have played Kolek 15 minutes, to your point. Um, I might have extended others' minutes, a little more. I don't know if I would have went deeper in the bench. I know someone in the chat said, maybe we should have went to Diawara, maybe, um, but as Kolek did not play well, but he wasn't the only one out there that didn't play well by any stretch. So both things could be true. Both things could be true. But that was one complaint I had about Brown. I didn't see what was the scheme for Brown. What was it? Just that we're gonna let him go off, and as long as we hold the rest of them, we should be fine. Like what, like what was the schematic change to kind of deal with Brown, and then playing the bench or the second team, like not making an adjustment. Like we complained about Thibodeau, like he's going back to the bench too soon. Let these guys rock. Trust him. That was his philosophy. Brown has the other philosophy, like the flip side of it. I'm just going to let these guys rock no matter what's going on in the game. I'm going to let them rock. And both of them to me is a little bit too inflexible. Like there's got to be times when you're like, yo, I got to bring my people back. This is not the game for Kolek. Maybe there were other games, and he said it, where he felt like he should have played Kolek more. Okay. But that wasn't this game. You know what I mean? And I'm not blaming anything on Kolek. He was not great defensively. Cat wasn't great defensively. Brunson, wasn't great, defensively. But Cat and Brunson, you kind of have to live with it, and hope that the offense outplays the defense. But yeah, I would have reduced Kolek's minutes.
I agree with you, but I would add to that, Queen. If we're gonna let our offense outplay the defense, then you need to take advantage of Towns and get him more shots, because he was playing well last night. He was scoring the ball well last night. But even with him, there was a sequence in the fourth quarter, I think it was, where he missed a top of the key three. Long rebound, went out, and then he didn't get back to the shooter, ended up in a 6-0 run, and it was a 6-point game. So, that sequence right there was, and just as an example of, it's not just Brunson, it's just not just Kolek. Like Towns had his hiccups too. But
absolutely.
But I really feel like that Boston as a team, we should be able to attack the paint at will. Neemias Queta should not be preventing us from getting into the key and doing whatever we want. And whoever that other
they play
kid was,
stronger than us, Geoff. They play stronger than us. Like their resistance, like they were helping, getting their hands in, like deflecting. Like when Towns had the ball in the post, you would think he's one-on-one. You shouldn't have a problem. And for the most part, he didn't. But there were times when they would dig down and disrupt him. And, some of it was the Knicks. A lot of it was Boston. And Cat statistically did well. But if you watch the games, there were more than a few moments where I was like, what the hell is like what's going on here? Like, yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, finish your point.
Oh, that's okay. That's all that was just my point. As I think that, we definitely played to their style and I guess that's the way Brown wants to play. But I think under certain matchups, you have to try and, limit what the other team is doing. And I think when you play at their pace and at their, the way that they prefer it lends to their advantage. We were hot early from three, and I kind of was worried that was going to be, fool's gold for us. And it turned out to be, we got out to that lead because we were just unbelievable. Deuce hit some massive shots in the first quarter from 3, and then really didn't touch the ball again after that, interestingly enough. But you know, so you know, and then once we cooled off, then they were able to get back in the game. But they didn't shoot the ball well from 3 for most of the night, but they were able to get to the lane and into the paint at will without any deterrence whatsoever. I thought that Brown was able to get easy looks. I thought that they I don't know how many times they got in the first half, they got rebound and a dunk or a drive to the lane, through the lane and a dunk, just because, you know, the defense wasn't there. And so there were just, I don't know, it's like we took a nap in the second and third quarter, and you got to play 4 quarters to beat a team like Boston in Boston. I mean, they're not who they were 2 seasons ago, but they're still a formidable opponent.
Yeah, for sure. The Knicks, though, Geoff, shot really well from 3 for the entire game. So I don't know if I don't know if that hurt us. Even in the second half, with Jalen Brunson's 0 for 4, we still shot 43.5%. You know, for the
we
game.
were at
So
75% in the first quarter, so we,
right,
you know,
right. Well,
so
yeah, but I don't.
so,
Right, 75% is not going to continue, but it's not like they dropped off, you know, went down to 23%. They still shot in the second half 43.5%. And they shot well overall. In the second half, they shot 53.5%. They didn't go to the line a lot, but neither did neither did Boston, right? Points in the paint,
I thought the Knicks
56 to
didn't go to the line a
42.
lot because we weren't afforded the same whistle on our side of the court. I'm not going to blame the officials, but Boston was allowed to be much more physical with us than we were with them. They were in the start of the second quarter, especially. They were really physical with Towns without getting a call, and that we would touch Brown and it's an and one, and I'm like, wait a minute, what? You know, that's, you know, let's have. You know, it's not about equality of calls. It's that if it's a foul on this end, it's a foul on that end. Boston getting away with murder, and we're over here, you know, dying on a vine, you know, with ticky tacks. So, but I'm not going to blame the officials. They're not the reason we lost this game. The Knicks have to adjust to that and understand that. And we're very bad at that. We tend to mope and feel sorry for ourselves when we don't get calls, especially Towns and Hart. You know, they tend to complain, and that just makes matters worse, instead of digging in and understanding, okay, this is a game where they're going to be allowed to be physical and we're not, so we've got to adjust to that style of play and make you know, and just go out there and play ball.
Yeah, the Knicks are not a physical team. They're just not a physical team. You know, they were able, after that Detroit series last year, I think that really helped their physicality. And the next 2 rounds, they were much more physical. But it seems like we're just back to just not being a really physical team, and not just not being physical ourselves, not handling physicality that well. We just, we just don't. So yeah. Let me yeah. I don't even know where I want to go. Next, I guess we can go to Brunson. 15 points. He shot 6 of 21 from the field, 1 of 8 from 3-point range. He went 2 of 7 in the fourth quarter. Mike Brown had no problems with his shot selection, no problems with the amount of shots that he took. He felt like he was getting him in his spots and, getting the looks he usually gets. He just didn't knock him down. And like I said in the beginning, there's 2 ways you can go with that. What would you have liked to have seen? Like, I'm kind of on both sides. Like, don't just abandon, your shooting, and become a decoy. Because, with Brunson, he can struggle for 3 quarters and in the fourth quarter be something totally different. His game could be totally different. But there was a few possessions in that fourth quarter where I just felt like, come on, Bridges just hit 19 shots in a row. Here you come down trying to get in the lane for a basket. Like, keep going to the hot hand. Anyway, just your thoughts on Brunson, and you don't have to shoot well to play well, but just your thoughts on him overall.
You don't have to shoot well to play well, but I thought him not shooting well was part of him not playing well, if that makes sense. He and it's crazy because he had 11 assists, which was probably one of his highest numbers of the entire season, right? But at the same time, part of it is awareness of what's going on the floor and the advantages that you have. As you said,
Absolutely.
Bridges was on fire. Towns was, Towns is at an advantage no matter who's guarding him in against Boston, in my opinion. Like, if you're putting a small on him, then he's got an advantage. If you're playing him with their bigs, they can't contain him. So I didn't like his process last night, even though his process often works, right? He's trusting his work and who he is, and I respect that. But read the game. Like, see the part of being the captain is to say, okay, maybe I don't have it tonight, and these guys are cooking. Let me make them. And I think the more that he gave the ball up, the better shots that he would get himself, because I think it would have caused the defense to collapse and do some things where he would get wide open looks instead of him just kind of trying to force the ball and get lower percentage shots that he is good at making. But I thought his IQ, which is usually strong, was not at its peak last night. Let's just put it that way.
I just think he missed shots. I mean, there's a few in the fourth quarter that I felt like, you know, it's not even like Mikal was hot in the first few minutes of the first quarter. No, he was hot the possession right before you took that shot. But I don't know if I want to sum it up to his IQ for the entire game. Wasn't there. I thought he took good shots. For the most part, they just weren't falling down. However, there was a few possessions in that second quarter that fourth quarter where I felt like, mm, mm, I'm not so sure, But for me personally, I'm not gonna, say that his entire process was off the entire game, but I would have liked him to do something different there. We play tonight. He'll be fine. I'm not going to take this one game, which we often do, and now create this whole narrative around Jalen Brunson. We know who Jalen Brunson is. He hasn't had a bad night in a long time, quite frankly. I don't even remember the last time he had a bad night. So they're far in few between. But let us know in the chat what you think about Brunson, if you felt like he should have laid back a little bit the entire game, the fourth quarter, been more of a decoy, or if you come from that school of thought that shooters shoot and scorers scores, and as long as you're taking good shots in the flow of the game, you continue to do so. Let me know what just your stance on that, and the replay game as well. Put it in the chat. What you think. We talked about Bridges. I don't know if we talked about him enough, but he he was just phenomenal. And like I said yesterday, Jeff, his effort, it just seems like he's out there like this is a stroll in the park. It's a stroll in the park. Like I don't see any sweating. I don't see any huffing and puffing, any chest heaving. Like it's just a walk in the park for him. 8 for 12 from 3-point range, 12 of 17 overall, 17 of his 35 points in the fourth quarter. You know what? He should just have the ball in his hands and let him decide. If he wants to, if he wants to
And then if he
pass it
missed three
or not.
shots, it's like, why didn't Brunson take those looks, right? So here we go.
Can't win for losing it. And he got good looks too. I mean, one of the things about Cat and Brunson, Deuce as well, even when they're not shooting the ball, the gravity is there. I know I've seen on Twitter, and even Adji and I will go back and forth during the game. If Cat's not scoring, he's useless. I heard somebody on Twitter last night was like, if Brunson is not scoring, he's useless. And I don't think that that's true. I think gravity, matters, and both Towns and Brunson have gravity, and that creates shots and open looks for others, whether they're shooting well or not. And then with Towns, you also get the rebounding. And then I don't want to gloss over the fact that Brunson also had 11 assists, um, last night, um, as well. But just kudos to Bridges. I mean, this is not going to be him because he's just not that. He's just not that guy. He's just, if it comes to me, it comes to me. If it doesn't, doesn't. But I would really like to see him take, um, take more
But I do think
shots.
without OG, we do kind of need him to kind of step up a little bit in
Yeah.
his, you know what I mean? Because Ananobi are like 3A and 3B. Well, without OG
Mhm.
in the lineup till, although I heard he may be coming back for the game against Orlando on the 7th. I don't know if you've
Oh, that
heard
would be
that too.
great.
But I
I didn't
heard
hear it.
that he was planning on coming back for on the 7th. But at any rate, when he's out of the lineup, you kind of need your guys to do more. And for the most part, he has. He stepped up into that role fantastically, as has Josh Hart. By the way, I thought Josh Hart had a very good game for the most part. I thought
Yeah.
he was doing Josh Hart things, like he was making an impact on the game. But Bridges is having a phenomenal season. It's a shame we wasted that effort. That's what I'll say. To have that kind of a shooting performance in a loss is kind of, it's like, man, we should have gotten the win that last night just because of that performance. But it
Yeah.
is what
Look
it
at the
is.
shooting.
And
Go ahead, Jeff.
yeah, go ahead. The shooting you were saying.
Look at this shooting. 70.6% from the field, 66.7% from three from Bridges, 63.6%, 57.1% from Hart, 63.2% forward slash 40% from Towns, 50% slash 60% from McBride. Brunson was a hot mess, 28.6, 12.5, and so was Clarkson. Even though he only took 5 shots, on the night, 20% overall, 33.3% from the field. I mean, I don't think this was more about shooting as much as it was just about, you know,
And remember,
defending and that.
And remember when we beat Boston, we had both Shamit and OG in the lineup, and I think those two make a really big difference. And obviously, they're playing without their best player too. Tatum is gone too, so
Yeah,
you can't really play that game uh, completely, but I do think that Shamit makes a difference. Being able to go to Shamit rather than Kolek, for example, I think makes a big difference
absolutely,
because
absolutely.
he's tough-minded defensively. He's more confident with his shot. He's more reliable with his shot. You can pass him the ball, and you expect he's going to make it. With Kolek, he's young. You hope that he does, but he's not really at that point with his shooting yet. Kind of like a young Deuce McBride was. His first 2 years he was Ray Charles, and then by year 3 he was refined and was. I mean, he, as you say, he never lacked for confidence,
Never.
but he had reason
Hmm.
to be confident in year 3 and 4 because
Right,
his
right, right.
response was commensurate with the. And he's been on a bender lately. He's been shooting lights out like every game. So
Yeah,
I think
and he was
4
three of
games in a
five
row.
last night.
You know,
He was three
yeah.
of five last night and also 6 assists. I mean, I think that's another thing that I'm noticing about McBride. He's just contributing in multiple categories. He's not somebody from 2 point range, like most of his shots, like 75% of his shots or something like that, comes from 3 point range, but he's giving you a little something in the other areas as well. Last night, 6 assists, 3 rebounds. I mean, the Knicks had 29 assists themselves, off the 80, 89. So they were, moving the ball and hitting shots, right? Shout out to Ajay, not just moving the ball, but also, hitting shots. Boston did not shoot well from three, just 32.5%. They shot 56.3% overall, just 18, you know, just 18, assists. Like Brown did a lot of the damage, for them, but
And it's second chance
they
points too, right? They miss that, they get it back, and there's no assist on that. But
Yeah, and they did a good job limiting us in terms of offensive rebounds and second chance points. I mean, like they stuck to their game plan. Like they knew what they were trying to do versus the Knicks, and they were able to do it. The Knicks had 13 second chance points and I think 10 offensive 10 offensive rebounds. Not
We
that there
didn't
was
get
a
a
lot
good
of
performance
offensive
from Mitch last
rebounds
night.
to go around. Say that again?
We didn't get a good performance from Mitch last night either. Robinson just
Yeah.
was not. It's like they were the first quarter they were hacking him and he was missing foul shots and it's like it got in his head and he and that shouldn't happen, right? You gotta, whatever's happening is happening, and he was 1 for 4 at the line too, so I'm sure that was, I mean, that was crazy that I think he led us in free throw attempts last night. As
He
I
did.
think,
Yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, he had four, four three, five rebounds in 16 minutes is not bad. We're just used to like 50 rebounds in 13 minutes, right?
but no rim
You know,
protection really either. I mean, I didn't really see him
no,
dominating
no,
in the paint and
no.
blocking shots and keeping people out of the key. It was almost like he was on the perimeter and people would go right by him, and then he would be trying to recover and would be a step slow and couldn't get the block. Is that fair on my part, or is that an off
Yeah,
assessment?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, listen, Robinson defensively hasn't been the Robinson that we've known over the past, I don't know, seven, um, 8 games. But he's still a piece. Like I think we might be past the time when Mitchell Robinson by himself can just anchor a defense. We might be past that, but he's still a really good piece. And once you have OG back into the fold and you have Shamit back into the fold defensively, the Knicks are they're gonna have options defensively. I think OG is now in that role where he just anchors the defense. No matter who's in there with him, he's just going to anchor it and he's going to level up whoever is there on the defensive end. That's OG's role right now. But Mitchell Robinson is still a good piece. I don't quite know what it is. Like, is this just a defensive slump? Is there such thing? I know there's shooting slumps, but is there such thing as a defensive slump? Or is this just the injuries catching up to him? And at this point, we just have to consider him a piece and not really rely on him to anchor and cover up, everyone's
We've seen it
mistakes.
at times though, so I'm not
We
sure
have,
that it's that, because there have been moments this season where it's like, oh yeah, that's the Robinson we want to see. Maybe it's, I'm not sure. I just think Boston has always been a tough matchup for him, just the way that they play and they're so perimeter oriented. But again,
yeah, that could have been too, absolutely, having him out the paint.
so
Yeah, for sure. I guess anything else? We talked about Brunson, Cat, Hart, McBride,
shot at redemption
Mitch.
tonight. Let's take it. That's the next thing, right? We got Charlotte at home.
Yeah,
We got to win
yeah.
that game.
We will. I would be shocked if we don't win tonight. I just and coming into the season, Boston wasn't considered to be a good team. Like when we did the Eastern Conference rankings, I had them finishing outside of the top 10, as much as I know. I just really thought they would fall off a lot, but they've been playing,
They've had
pretty
wins
well.
over us, Detroit, Cleveland, and
Hmm.
Orlando all in the
Hmm.
last. So they're 8-3 in their last 11, and they're beating up on the Eastern Conference in doing so. And
Hmm.
a lot of it is credit to the guys I mean, they don't have no presence in the middle, and it doesn't
Hmm.
matter. Like they're able
Right.
to. That Brown is really good. Derek White is really good. Peyton Pritchard has been excellent. He wasn't really good last night, but
Right.
he's been really good for them, and they just kind of do enough, and like their rebounding is amazing in that they're so small, but I think almost everybody on their team had at least 4 rebounds against us last night, and we're
Right.
normally one of the elite rebounding teams in the league, and they outdid us on the boards, and that speaks to excellent coaching in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, excellent coaching as well, but why couldn't we rebound? Like, what's up with Hart? What's up with Cat? Like, why couldn't we? And Mitch too. Why couldn't we rebound? On the defensive end. Anyway, anyway, let's get to the chat before we get out of here. Um, shout out to David Smith. Appreciate you. Jerrell, Arlene. Shout out to JJ, who said, no, the biggest disappointment was letting Jaylen Brown get the switch with Brunson on him over and over again without any schematic, changes, just it's okay. Just allow this to go on. Lonnie Meeks, why was McBride taken out when he was hot? Okay. JB had an awful game. Just awful. All right. Don't mess with my deuce, or else I would drop some bars like a superstar and come in hot for your spot. Okay. All
They've been
right,
threatening me
Wiz.
a lot lately, Queen. I'm on his list. I got a target on my forehead from Wiz. He's really he's after me.
This is for Jeff. We got the Jordan Clarkson experience last night. Yeah,
We did.
Bridges looked like an all-star. If we get that Bridges in the playoffs, yeah. If we get that Bridges for the rest of the season, that would be great. Yeah, Jerrell. Cat isn't a good defender, but he has to at least look like he's trying. that was Ajay. That was Ajay last night. Like, come on. Like, I already know you're not a good defender, but at least look like you know what you're doing.
No, he
Most of
did
the
in the
time-
first quarter, though. I thought Cat's
Yeah.
defense in the first quarter was actually pretty good. And then it was one of the reasons why we built a lead, in my opinion. Like, yeah, we made some shots, but we were defending at a high level. All 5 players, like, that was Boston's lowest quarter of the season. So there were, it obviously fell off a cliff in quarter 2, 3, and 4. But I thought we did see some of Cat's best defense last night. I thought he was good in the first quarter. Maybe that's just me, but I actually thought he played with effort. He played intelligently. He was where he was supposed to be. So he's capable. It's kind of like Julius Randle in that aspect. You see it in spurts and you're like, why can't he do that all the time? But you just have to know he ain't going to do that all the time.
Well, and I think with Cat, it's multiple things. Some of it is effort, and some of it is, to me, he doesn't have, in my opinion, a high defensive IQ. But his effort, if it was consistent, could make up for some of that, right? And then there's also, fouling issue, other issues that he has. So there's multiple parts to the defense of Cat. But if he could just up his effort and just his team defense, just rotate over to the spot you're supposed to be at. I guess that's part of effort. Make the effort to rotate over to where you're supposed to be and put your hands up. That's it. Like, without asking, just rotate over. He's hit or miss with his defensive effort, and that's what's frustrating. I also think his one-on-one defense in the post is pretty good. I don't know what the numbers say, but that's fine. I think it's his pick and roll defense that's just a mess, just a hot mess. Okay. Bridges was not phenomenal all game. He's still fading from contact and almost never looks at the basket when he's in the lane. I mean, I think, to me, what people are calling fading from contact is his game. It's always been that way. It's not like, when there is nobody in the vicinity, he goes up straight. But when there are people in the vicinity, he fades away. That's his shot. Whether whether another player is there or not, that's his shot. Maybe he developed that over the years from being thin. You know what I mean? Maybe well before he even got to the NBA. But I don't really see it as shying away from that's the shot he takes no matter what. Okay. Brunson has to be checked when he is 3 of 12 to change to distributor mode. Okay. Okay. More same sentiment here. Brunson should have let Cat and Bridges take it home. Yeah. Okay. Brunson gave up about 60 points himself. I mean, Brunson is not a great, defender by any stretch. Yeah, Jerrell. I don't know if I disagree. Our defense in the second and third quarter lost us the game.
Facts.
Tari Eason I love Tari Eason. I love Tari Eason, Trey Murphy, Herb Jones. None of the players the Knicks will be able to get.
Who are we giving up to get Tari
Right,
Eason?
right. But yeah, I do like those.
He is quite a defender. I will say that.
Yeah, first quarter was dominant, and then they forgot. I mean, this is what Josh Hart said as well. He said, he doesn't understand why the same things we did in the first quarter, we just went away from them in the second and third. And he did mention people trying to get their points. He said, I'm not trying to be negative, about it, but maybe, when you're up 15, 20, you feel like, okay, now it's just the time to, go and get mine. He actually said that.
He's the one you'll get the most honest response from
Right.
in terms of post-game interviews. He's not afraid to be honest about what's going on.
Yeah.
And when
Like
your best
Sherwin.
friend is the guy that you're talking to, I guess you can, you know what I mean?
You could
They
say
have that
that.
relationship where
Correct. If I must package juice, come on. Like who wouldn't, like, I mean,
Wiz wouldn't, but everybody else would.
like Easton is Houston, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not gonna I don't even think they're gonna pick up the phone. Well, they would have to know what the offer is, but I don't think they're gonna.
They would pick up the phone so
long.
that they could slam it in your ears. That was the reason.
Right. Oh boy. Sherwin says we lost because we're not as good as most people think. Listen, I think the Knicks will be fine over time.
And remember, we're down two rotation players last night too. This is not the most, and it should have won the game anyway. Yes, but I mean, I'm just saying that this is not the most fully realized version of the Knicks, and we're still, we still had a chance to win the game in the fourth quarter, and so we'll see what happens, but
right.
Let's just put it behind us and get the win tonight. Like don't compound last night's stupidity with more stupidity. Just get back on the winning track, and you're gonna have games like that. Except for the Oklahoma City Thunder, who may never lose again. I don't know. They're like 20-1. Like I don't even understand how good they are right now. But other than that,
might even be 21-1 if they won last night.
Yeah. So which is like insane, but other than that, there's like two distinct plateaus. The rest of us are going to lose some games, and when guys like Jaylen Brown, when stars like Brown go on a heater like that, it's tough to win. It really is. I mean, he had a phenomenal phenomenal performance last night. He was really good, superstar level.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. It's just hard for me to believe there was nothing we could have done last night but just allow that to happen.
We shut him down in the fourth quarter. I mean, the blitz worked as far as limiting Brown's points. The blitz absolutely worked. As soon as he touched the ball, the instant double team. Now Brown's really good, and he was able to swing the ball and get shots for his other teammates. But as far as shutting Brown down, he didn't score much in the fourth quarter, and it was
But
because of
how long did it take to go to the blitz is what I'm saying.
yeah, of course, absolutely, absolutely.
That's what I'm saying. You know, how long before you like get the ball out of, out of his hands? Um LRYs, we go as Brunson goes. The phone booth wouldn't open for the captain last night, 50 tonight. I mean, yeah, I'm not worried. I'm not worried about Brunson um
But
at
I'll say
all.
I think we're better when he doesn't go for 50 than when he does. Like I think
Mhm.
when more, and sometimes we need him to go for 50, don't get me wrong, but I think that when he's hot like that, some of the rest of the team tends to stand around and watch him, because it's a sight to behold. But I would much rather a game where everybody is actively engaged and involved, and I think that's when we're playing at our best.
I don't think Brunson hogged the ball last night. I mean, he had 11 assists. I don't think he hogged the ball. I just think that there were, in my opinion, just a few possessions. And then the Knicks as a team had 29 assists. Assists is not always an indication of ball movement, but I just think, for the most part, he had a poor shooting night. He took in the fourth quarter, I would have liked him to just kind of defer a little bit. But I just can't sit here and say the entire game Brunson just forced shots. He took the shots he usually takes.
I think that's
All
fair.
right. Eddie FICO. Did I get that right? It was not a close one. We handed victory to Boston on a silver platter, mediocre performance. Okay.
I think
All
that's
right.
fair.
Yep. Okay. All right. Yeah, I did hear about this. We'll talk about this tomorrow, just in terms of what the panel feels about it and what you guys um think about it. But yeah, there's been some rumblings about that. Um,
A decade too late.
I mean, but for what we need from him, I don't know. Do we need him to be that Chris Paul from a
No.
decade ago?
We'll
Can you
shelve that
bring the ball
conversation.
over
It's a good
half
one.
court? Right.
Yeah. No, I think there's a lot to talk about there for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think whoever's gonna back up Brunson, I don't think we're asking a lot. Is more decision making, organizing the team, and don't turn the ball over and be a cone. Yeah.
I think
Anyway.
that goes for everybody, though, not just the point guard. I think that's great advice for the entire roster. Don't turn the ball over and don't be a cone. Yes. In fact, you should
Right.
replace Mike Brown just on that defensive theory alone.
Right. Right. Um, yeah. Somebody yeah. 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 He did defend Brunson. Listen, Boston was all over the place. This game meant something to them. It meant something to them. You know, Jalen Brown, downplayed it after the game. It was a good win, but it's just one. We got to continue doing what we do, and they do. But you can't tell me they wasn't hyped for this, for this game tonight. And the Knicks, just from the eye test, didn't seem to match their physicality and energy, but at the same time, still fought and was able to get themselves back um, into this game. Any last words, Jeff?
Well, sorry you had to put up with me and without the Queen for a little bit there, but
I know
we
you held it down.
survived, and thank you for this is a therapy session. Every loss is a therapy session for me. So that was good. Let's get a win tonight. We're back at it. You get the double the pleasure, double the fun, double McGum tomorrow, baby.
Yep, 12:30 tomorrow for the recap and reaction show, and then 9 p.m. I miss you guys. I missed the panel, so I'm looking forward to that. Tomorrow night. Thank you, Jeff. Always a pleasure. Shout out to the chat. The real AD was with us today. D Public Enemy. It's been a minute, if I'm not mistaken. Appreciate you. Ally Wise, JJ, Wiz, Sherwin, Jerrell, D Grant 60, 3. Appreciate you as well. And anybody else I missed, the replay gang, the silent listeners. Until next time. Peace.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Sister, it's time you
That's
shine. Dope Soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Dope Soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Dope Soul.
What?
Dope Soul.
What?
Your soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Great.